Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, hearing sounds that you just can't explain? Footsteps echoing across an empty floor, the soft creak of a window that you know was tightly shut. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that's spooky enough to make your spine tingle, yet gentle enough to guide you slowly into sleep. It all started on a quiet, moonlit night when I received a mysterious message from an old friend. "If you dare," it read, "come to the house at the end of Elm Street at midnight, just once, and you'll understand why people avoid it." I wasn't sure whether it was a joke or if something truly haunted awaited me, but curiosity, as it often does, got the better of me. Standing before the rotting wooden gate, I could see the silhouette of the house through the mist that crept along the street. The air was heavy and cold, and every breath I took seemed to whisper secrets of the past. The moonlight filtered through the gnarled branches of the surrounding trees, casting strange, moving shadows across the cracked walkway. I hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of silence pressing in on me from all sides. Then, slowly, I pushed open the gate. The hinges groaned as if warning me to turn back. I stepped onto the porch, where the floorboards creaked beneath my feet, each step echoing louder than the last. A chill ran down my spine as the wind whistled through the broken windows, carrying faint, almost unrecognizable whispers. I could have sworn someone or something was watching me from the darkness inside. As I reached for the door handle, my hand trembled. The cold metal was icy, and a shiver ran up my arm. With a deep breath, I turned the knob. The door opened with a long, eerie creak, revealing a dimly lit hall where dust danced in the air like tiny spirits. My footsteps echoed against the walls, a reminder that I was utterly alone. Or so I hoped. Suddenly, a soft thud echoed from upstairs. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't sure if it was the wind, a branch hitting the roof, or something else entirely. The house seemed to breathe, creaking and sighing with its own ancient life. Every corner held a shadow. Every shadow seemed to move, and yet I couldn't turn back. Something drew me in, a mix of fear and fascination that urged me to discover the secrets hidden in that house. Tonight, I invite you to walk with me through these halls, to hear the whispers, to see the shadows, and to feel the strange, slow chill of a house that refuses to let go of its past. As we go deeper, let your mind relax and sink into the story. Don't worry about being scared. Just let the gentle tension guide you into a calm, sleepy state. Remember to stay with me until the end. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more chilling tales, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next story that will send shivers down your spine while you drift off to sleep. The house waits for us, and its secrets are ready to be revealed. Are you ready to step inside? The hall stretched before me, long and narrow, with faded wallpaper peeling from the damp walls. The faint smell of mildew hung in the air, mixed with something older, almost like the scent of forgotten memories. Each step I took seemed to awaken the house itself, a soft creaking, as though it were greeting a visitor it hadn't seen in decades, or perhaps centuries. I moved slowly, trying not to make a sound, though the wooden floorboards betrayed me with every careful step. Dust motes floated lazily in the dim moonlight, streaming through the broken windows. Shadows danced across the floor, elongated and twisted, by the flickering light of what must have once been chandeliers, now nothing more than cobweb-covered skeletons. The air was cold, yet oddly still, as if the house held its breath, waiting. A soft whisper drifted from the far end of the hall. I paused, my heart pounding, unsure if it was the wind or my imagination playing tricks. Leaning closer to the wall, I could just make out a faint scratching sound, like fingernails tracing the grain of the old wood. Goosebumps prickled my arms as I listened, trying to convince myself it was nothing more than the house settling. But the sound was deliberate. I reached a staircase, old and worn, each step groaning under the weight of my presence. The banister was coated with dust, yet I could feel the chill radiating through the wood as my fingers brushed against it. Slowly, I began to climb, step by step, each creak echoing through the empty space above me. The air grew colder the higher I went, a subtle frost forming along the edges of the walls. Though the night outside was not yet cold enough for such frost. At the top, a long corridor awaited, lined with closed doors, each more imposing than the last. The whispering grew louder here, more insistent, but still soft enough to be almost comforting. A lullaby for those who dared to listen. The corridor seemed endless, stretching further than I could see, fading into darkness. Shadows pooled in the corners, twisting as if alive, moving just at the edge of my vision. I stopped before the first door on the right. Its paint was cracked and faded, and a small brass plaque read simply, "Room 3." A faint light flickered behind the door, rhythmic and uneven, almost like the pulse of a heartbeat. My hand hovered over the knob, unsure if I wanted to enter, yet unable to resist. Slowly, I turned the handle and pushed the door open. Inside, the room was small and bare, yet it seemed to hum with life. The walls were lined with old portraits, faces blurred and faded, eyes that seemed to follow me, even in the dim light. A rocking chair moved gently in the corner, as if pushed by an unseen hand. The whispering was louder now, filling the space around me, soft and melodic, almost hypnotic. I stepped inside, feeling the floorboards warm beneath my feet for a brief moment before the cold returned. The rocking chair stopped, and silence fell like a heavy blanket. I could feel eyes on me, watching, waiting. My heart raced, yet a strange calmness enveloped me, the kind that comes when fear and curiosity entwine. I knew that the house held stories here, secrets trapped in time, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to discover them. As I explored, I noticed small details, a crack in the wall that revealed faint writing, half-erased messages from long ago, a broken music box on the floor, its tune faint but lingering, and a window slightly ajar. The night air slipping through, carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant rain. Every sound, every shadow seemed part of a larger story, inviting me to stay and uncover it. And as the night deepened, I realized this house was alive in a way I had never imagined. Not with people, but with memories, with echoes of laughter and sorrow, trapped in the very walls that surrounded me. And I, for better or worse, was now part of that story, walking slowly through its haunted corridors, guided by whispers, shadows, and the unshakable pull of curiosity. The air seemed thicker as I moved deeper into the room, each breath echoing softly, almost in rhythm with the faint creaking of the floor. My eyes adjusted to the dim light, and I noticed more details. An old, dust-covered dresser in the corner, drawers slightly open as if inviting me to look inside. The room was silent, but the silence was not empty. It was full of anticipation, a quiet hum that made the hairs on my neck stand on end. I approached the dresser slowly, my fingers brushing against the surface, tracing the intricate carvings worn smooth by time. Opening the top drawer revealed nothing but old letters, yellowed with age. I lifted one carefully, the paper brittle beneath my fingers. The handwriting was hurried, almost desperate, speaking of someone trapped, someone watching, someone waiting. The words seemed to echo in the room, whispering softly to me. Suddenly, the rocking chair creaked again. I froze, my heart thudding, listening as it rocked back and forth. The whispering returned, slightly louder now, wrapping around me like a soft, cold breeze. It was as if the house itself wanted to tell me something, to share its story through shadows and whispers. I felt drawn to the window at the far end of the room, where the night pressed against the glass, thick and dark, like a velvet curtain. Outside, the moon shone pale and distant, casting long, distorted shadows across the floor. I could see the trees swaying in the wind, their branches scratching against the broken windows like ghostly fingers. For a moment, I thought I saw a figure standing beneath one of the trees, watching, but when I blinked, it was gone. My pulse quickened, but curiosity kept me rooted to the spot. A sudden draft swept through the room, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and something sweeter, like burning candles or decaying flowers. The letters in the drawer fluttered as if caught in a gentle wind. Despite the stillness of the air, I shivered, not from the cold, but from the sensation that I was being observed. Eyes, hundreds of invisible eyes, watching from the corners, from the shadows behind the portraits, from the very walls themselves. I turned to leave the room, but the door slammed shut with a force that made me jump. I tried the handle. It wouldn't budge. Panic rose, though I tried to stay calm, reminding myself to breathe, to think. Then I noticed something peculiar. The rocking chair had stopped moving, but its shadow stretched across the room in an unnatural way, almost reaching toward me. The whispering grew louder, forming words I couldn't quite make out, yet the tone was almost gentle, coaxing me to stay, to listen. Slowly, I backed away from the dresser, keeping my eyes on the shadow. I felt an urge to explore further, to understand what the house wanted me to see. Each step I took seemed to echo with 1,000 tiny sounds. Footsteps, whispers, soft taps, each one perfectly synchronized with the rhythm of my own heartbeat. The room felt alive. Every object, every shadow, a part of a story that was not entirely mine. Yet I could not turn away. I noticed a small door tucked behind one of the larger portraits. It was almost hidden, its edges blending seamlessly with the wall. My fingers traced the outline, feeling the subtle groove where the door met the wall. It was cold, icy to the touch, and yet it radiated a strange warmth, as though it held the heart of the house itself. I hesitated for a moment, listening to the whispers, then slowly pushed the door open. The room beyond was smaller, darker, almost impossibly still. The walls seemed closer here, pressing inward. In the center, a single candle flickered on a small table. Though the wick was unlit, I could feel the energy of the house concentrated here, a pulse that matched my own heartbeat. The whispers intensified, urging me closer, telling me that the next part of the story was here, hidden in the shadows. I stepped forward cautiously, every sense alert, every nerve alive with anticipation. And as I did, I realized something chilling, yet strangely comforting. The house was not trying to harm me. It simply wanted to share its secrets. One creaking floorboard, one flickering shadow, one whispered word at a time. And I, for reasons I couldn't fully understand, was ready to listen. As I stepped closer to the small table, the flickering candle suddenly ignited, casting an eerie golden glow that danced across the walls. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting like living creatures. I could hear the whispering more clearly now, weaving together fragments of words that sent chills down my spine. Stay. Listen. Understand. Each syllable was drawn out, almost like the house itself was breathing. The air grew heavier, filled with the scent of old wood, candle wax, and something faintly metallic, like iron. My fingertips brushed the table, and I felt a strange warmth radiating from the wood, as if it had absorbed the memories of everyone who had ever entered this room. I hesitated, knowing instinctively that whatever came next would change everything. A sudden noise made me jump, a soft thud from the corner. My eyes darted there, and for a brief moment, I thought I saw a shadow move independently, sliding along the wall like liquid darkness. It vanished before I could focus on it, leaving behind only a sense of being watched. My pulse quickened, and yet I was drawn forward by a mixture of fear and curiosity. The whispering formed more coherent sentences now, though they seemed almost like riddles. You seek the truth, yet fear the answer. The voice was faint, almost tender, and it seemed to echo inside my skull rather than in the room itself. I shivered, realizing that I wasn't alone. The house had a consciousness, a presence, a story desperate to be told. I noticed an old, leather-bound journal lying on the table. Dust covered its cover, but the leather was soft, worn smooth from handling over countless years. I opened it carefully. The pages were filled with frantic handwriting, describing strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, whispers in empty rooms, fleeting figures glimpsed in the corner of an eye. The more I read, the more I felt the weight of the house pressing down on me, as if the walls themselves were alive with memories. Suddenly, the candle flickered violently, casting rapid shadows that seemed to dance toward me. A cold gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the flame. Darkness enveloped me, yet I could still feel the house's presence, its whispers now louder, almost urgent. My heart pounded. I realized that the house wasn't just haunted. It was aware. It was alive in a way that defied logic. Yet it felt strangely intimate, like a friend, guiding me through a story I was meant to witness. A soft tapping began at the far wall. One tap, then another. Faster, almost like a rhythm. I followed the sound, guided by instinct. Each tap led me to a hidden alcove, where I discovered an antique mirror. Its surface was cloudy, but I could just make out shapes moving behind the glass. The whispers urged me to look closer. I peered into the mirror, and my reflection wavered, not perfectly matching my movements. I blinked and saw a shadowy figure standing behind me, just at the edge of my vision. I spun around, but no one was there. The room remained silent, except for the echo of my own heartbeat. My curiosity battled my fear. I could leave at any moment, walk back into the safe night, and escape the haunted memories of the house. Yet something held me there. Something whispered that the story wasn't finished. I returned to the journal, flipping pages until I found a drawing, a sketch of the very room I stood in. Beneath it were notes in jagged handwriting, describing a hidden door, a secret the house had kept for generations. My pulse quickened as I scanned the walls, feeling for the faint groove of a door hidden in plain sight. And then I found it, a narrow seam almost invisible, running from floor to ceiling. The whispers encouraged me to open it. With trembling hands, I pressed on the seam. A soft click echoed through the room. The door slowly swung open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The whispers became a chorus, rising and falling like the tide, coaxing me downward. I knew that whatever lay below was the heart of the house, the place where the story had begun, and perhaps the place where it would end. With a deep breath, I took the first step. The air grew colder with each descent, carrying the weight of centuries and the voices of those who had come before. I knew there was no turning back now. The house had claimed my attention, my curiosity, my senses. And as I descended further into the darkness, I realized that the real story, the story the house wanted me to hear, was only just beginning. The staircase seemed endless, each step creaking beneath my weight as I descended into the heart of the house. The air grew colder, thick with an invisible mist that clung to my skin. The whispers followed, now layered with voices, some soft and pleading, others sharp and angry. I could barely make out their words, yet they carried an unmistakable urgency, as if warning me, or perhaps inviting me deeper. At the bottom, the staircase opened into a vast chamber, dimly lit by a strange greenish glow emanating from cracks in the walls. The floor was littered with broken furniture, shattered mirrors, and the remnants of forgotten lives. Shadows flickered across the room, twisting and writhing like living smoke. I could feel eyes on me from every corner, unseen but undeniably present. A sudden noise made me freeze. Something or someone was moving in the darkness. A faint, scraping sound echoed off the walls. My heartbeat quickened, every nerve on high alert. I whispered to myself, "It's just the house. It's just the house." But even as I said it, I knew the house was far more than a structure of wood and stone. It was a living story, full of memories, full of secrets, full of the restless dead. I noticed a faint path leading deeper into the chamber. The floorboards were worn smooth from countless footsteps long before mine. Following it, I came across a circle of old photographs scattered in a haphazard pattern. Each one depicted a family, a child, or a couple. But all of them had eyes that seemed impossibly aware, staring directly into me. The whispers grew louder, their tone now insistent. "See, understand, remember." I knelt down to examine one photograph more closely. The room behind the family in the photo was the very chamber I stood in, and in the corner, barely visible, was a shadowy figure, identical to the one I had glimpsed earlier in the mirror. My stomach churned. I felt a cold draft along the back of my neck, and I knew I was not alone. The floor beneath me groaned. Something heavy shifted in the darkness. I could feel the weight of eyes on me, their gaze burning into my skin. The whispers turned into a low, guttural hum vibrating in my chest. I wanted to scream, to run, to escape, but my feet felt rooted to the floor. The house had me now, fully, and it would not let go. From the far end of the chamber, I saw a faint light drawn to it. I approached cautiously. The glow revealed a small pedestal with a single candle burning atop it. Beside the candle lay a key, old and rusted, yet strangely warm to the touch. The whispers now formed words I could understand clearly. Take it. Unlock the story. Face the truth. I picked up the key, feeling a surge of energy course through me. The house seemed to respond, the shadows dancing faster, the whispers louder, yet somehow welcoming. I realized the key was not just metal. It was a symbol, a bridge between the living and the memories trapped within these walls. With the key in hand, I turned toward the door I had come through, noticing now that the walls seemed to pulse subtly, as if breathing. The house was alive, and it had allowed me this far for a reason. I knew that whatever lay beyond the door was the culmination of centuries of stories, secrets, and spirits. My curiosity had led me here, but courage, or perhaps foolishness, would carry me through. The whispers grew into a chorus, guiding me to the final chamber beyond the door. I inserted the key into the lock. A deep click resonated through the room, followed by silence. Then the door slowly creaked open, revealing darkness deeper than anything I had imagined. The air was colder, heavier, thick with the weight of untold stories. I stepped forward, and the whispers faded, replaced by a profound stillness. In that silence, I felt the house's history pressing against my mind, showing me glimpses of lives lived, fears endured, and secrets kept hidden. Every creak of the floor, every flicker of the candle, every shadow on the wall told a part of the story. I realized that the house didn't just want me to witness it, it wanted me to remember, to carry its story forward. I took a deep breath and stepped fully into the darkness, ready to uncover the truth. And in that moment, I understood the haunted house at midnight was not just a place, it was a living memory, a story that never truly ends. As I stepped fully into the darkness, the air seemed to thicken, pressing against me with an almost tangible weight. Every heartbeat echoed in the silent chamber, the flickering candlelight casting long, warped shadows across the walls. The house seemed to breathe around me, each creak of the floorboards a whisper of centuries past. I realized then that the stories within these walls weren't meant to scare merely for the thrill. They were memories, warnings, and fragments of lives that had never truly ended. The deeper I ventured, the more I felt connected to the house. The shadows shifted in patterns almost human, and I could swear that the whispers were no longer separate voices, but a chorus narrating the very essence of the house itself. Each tale of loss, of fear, of unfinished business became alive in my mind, entwining with my thoughts, my emotions, even my breath. I understood why people were drawn to haunted places, yet so few ever returned with their sanity intact. In the farthest corner of the chamber, I found an ornate mirror, cracked yet gleaming faintly under the candlelight. My reflection was warped, distorted, but not entirely my own. Behind me, shadows moved as if with intent, forming shapes I couldn't name, silhouettes that seemed almost alive. I shivered, yet I couldn't look away. The mirror was showing me not just the house, but the journey I had taken, the unseen spirits that had followed me, and perhaps the choices I would make beyond this night. The key I had found earlier pulsed in my hand, warm, almost urging me to act. With trembling fingers, I turned it slowly in the lock of a hidden door beneath the mirror. The click echoed louder than I expected, reverberating throughout the chamber. Slowly, the door swung open, revealing a passageway of darkness deeper than any I had imagined, yet inviting, almost beckoning me forward. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, knowing that what lay ahead would change everything. I thought I knew about fear, memory, and the boundaries between the living and the dead. As I moved through the passage, I felt a strange calm settling over me. The whispers became softer, like a lullaby sung in a language just beyond comprehension. I realized that the house wasn't malevolent. It was simply alive. Every creaking floorboard, every flickering light, every cold draft was a part of its story, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to walk through its halls and witness the tales trapped inside. By the time I emerged from the passage, the first light of dawn was brushing against the windows, softening the edges of the shadows. The house stood quiet, almost patient, as if acknowledging my courage. I felt a sense of reverence, a strange gratitude toward the place that had scared me, taught me, and ultimately shared its stories. I had walked through fear itself, faced the whispers of the past, and survived to tell the tale. But I knew in my heart that the house's story would never end. It would continue, waiting for the next curious soul, the next midnight wanderer. If you've stayed with me through this journey, you've witnessed the haunted house at midnight. Every creak, every shadow, every whispered secret, and there's so much more where that came from. If you want to continue exploring chilling stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of suspense, mystery, and the unknown. Remember, these stories aren't just for thrills. They're for those who dare to explore the dark corners of imagination, those who love the mix of fear and curiosity, and those who want to feel the tingling chills of a truly haunted tale. Every week, we dive into new haunted houses, ghostly encounters, and terrifyingly real experiences designed to give you that perfect shiver before sleep. If this story sent a chill down your spine, drop a comment below and tell me which part haunted you the most. And while you're here, don't forget to check out the next video, where we'll explore another abandoned mansion full of secrets that have been waiting for decades to be discovered. Click on the link, follow the journey, and let the stories carry you into the night. Thank you for watching, and remember, the house may be silent now, but it never truly sleeps. It waits, listening, remembering, and ready to whisper again to you. Stay curious, stay brave, and always keep the lights dim, but never completely off.